Hi, this is Lewis Harrison of Ask Lewis. Ask Lewis is a blog and also a YouTube channel that Ask Lewis Harrison. We're interested in having people be more effective, more efficient, more precise, more productive, really in everything that they do in their lives. And that's really what our focus is helping you be a happier, more contented, more fulfilled person through deductive reasoning, logic, intuition, facts, et cetera, et cetera. And we usually do podcasts that are based on whatever's trending on that particular day. So today we're going to talk about the 2020 Republican Convention, Trump, the American Constitution, and surprisingly, the power of positive thinking. So I got an email today from someone who said, Lewis, the Democratic Convention is over and the Republican Convention is in full swing. The speeches seem so reactive and present the world and the Democrats as incredibly dark. What are your feelings about all of this? Do you have any thoughts about the candidates and the issues at hand? Well, just to let you know, I have a lot of friends across the political spectrum, right-wing, left-wing, libertarians, white supremacists, Black Lives Matter. It's amazing. They don't know each other. They don't have any friends that are outside their own political beliefs. But I have friends all over the place because I like ideas. So anyway, they've all become more paranoid and divisive. I don't see it like they do. What I see is really clear politics and the Constitution of the United States as a roadmap. I don't look at the convention season as CNN politics or Reddit politics or YouTube politics, Huffington Post politics, Fox News politics, Facebook, etc. Some folks are trying to frame the upcoming election as driven by identity politics. And now, gun rights, Black Lives Matter, Me Too movement, conservatives, liberals. Of course, to me, big league politics is a much bigger thing than that. I was really listening to NPR politics podcast. And of course, to me, NPR is really politics and prose. And I don't mean that in a negative way. So ultimately, it doesn't matter whether your point of view is driven by MSN politics or Associated Press politics or BBC politics or Trump approval rating politics. At the end of the day, I have faith in the Constitution and the system that it created to remain in place and become more effective in spite of the corrupt, ignorant, soulless sycophants who don't care one way or the other about democracy, only about their pocket. What you need to do is learn the issues and the facts, decide what you need, and then volunteer for your cause. That's what makes American democracy works, as flawed as it may be. At the very least, do something, and then shut up about politics. If you study the Bill of Rights, which you probably have not done, and the U.S. Constitution, which most of us have not done, and I have not done till recently, you will soon come to realize that real politics, in the best sense of the word, is respectability politics. So, the United States has had many challenges, much greater than the coronavirus or Donald Trump. The biggest now is ignorance about the Constitution and what it stands for. Maybe you've never taken the time to look at the U.S. Constitution. It's an amazing document. Here's a short introduction. The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the United States. The Constitution originally was comprised of 7 articles delineating the national frame of government. And the first thing they realized is that you had to separate the power centers. So they created 3 power centers. And the federal government is in fact divided into 3 branches, which by the way is mirrored in the states. There's a legislative branch, which would be Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. And then you'd have the judicial branch, which would be the Supreme Court and the federal judgeships. And Then you have the executive branch consisting of the president and subordinate officers. And this is how it's all tied up. And there's Article 3, 4, 5, and Article 6 embody the concept of federalism. Now, most people have heard of Alexander Hamilton because they heard of the Broadway show Hamilton. But federalism is a concept that was really promoted by Hamilton. And he probably would have become president, except that he got himself killed in a gunfight. What can I tell you? With the vice president, Aaron Burr. Anyway, the concept of federalism describes the rights and relationships and responsibilities of the state governments, the states in relationship to the federal government, and the shared process of constitutional amendments. So you see where this balance of power is. It can get a little complex. So you don't want the president setting up a dictatorship, and he cannot do that because a lot of the power to appoint people, to budget things, that is created by the houses of Congress. The president may be able to sign the bills, but he doesn't write laws. Laws are written by the legislative branch. And you cannot write a law that's unconstitutional. So if the Senate and the House pass a bill, and the president signs it, but it's unconstitutional, the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, can say that is unconstitutional. And that's one of the debates that goes on in the Supreme Court, by the way, because you have people who are very conservative politically, and they feel that that the Constitution should be understood and interpreted as it was written. And other people who are more activist believe it's a living document and that it needs to be interpreted. And a lot of what goes on when you see debates between conservatives and progressives is the idea of how closely should one focus on exactly the words used to write the Constitution versus the intent as perceived by the Supreme Court justices at the present time, actually. So, Article 7 establishes the procedure substantially used by the original 13 states to ratify it. The U.S. Constitution is regarded as the oldest written and codified national constitution in force. Since the Constitution came into force in 1789, it's been changed or amended 27 times, not including one amendment that repealed the previous one. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but certainly America and the world has changed tremendously since the 18th century, and Supreme Court justices interpret the original constitutional amendments to see how to adjust that. How do copyright laws work, or how does freedom of speech work in relationship like the internet. So in general, the first 10 amendments, known collectively as the Bill of Rights, offer specific protections of individual liberty and justice, and also place restrictions on the power of government. So when you hear that Donald Trump wants to do something, but it's unconstitutional, or Congress wants to do something that's unconstitutional, what they're saying is it may be in violation of one of the Bill of Rights. So the majority of the 17 later amendments expanded individual civil liberties protections. Other amendments address issues related to federal authority or modify government processes and procedures. Amendments to the U.S. Constitution, unlike ones made to many constitutions worldwide, are added to or appended to the original document. And by the way, the original 4 pages of the Constitution were written on parchment. So, according to the United States Senate, the Constitution's first 3 words are "we the people," and that affirms that the government of the United States exists to serve its citizens. For over 2 centuries, the Constitution has remained in force because its framers wisely separated and balanced government powers between the executive branch, the presidency, the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, and the legislative branch, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And they separate and balance these government powers to safeguard the interest of majority rule and minority rights of liberty and equality, and of the federal and state governments. All that QAnon stuff that you have, conspiracy theories about deep state or about individual families running the world, all that conspiracy stuff. It's really dangerous because it ignores the fact that nobody could organize all the power because the Supreme Court, the executive branch, and the legislative branch are different centers of power. And nobody can manipulate all of them. It's almost impossible. In addition to that, the Constitution is written in certain ways to actually separate the rights of the majorities from the minority and also from the states and the federal government. It's complex stuff. So let me repeat that. So there's a balance of power between the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch, as well as the federal government versus the state governments. It's really quite incredible. And by the way, they didn't do this easily. They really worked hard at it. So I have great faith in America. I don't think Donald Trump's going to have a coup. If he loses, I don't think he's going to refuse to leave office. I don't think the Russians are going to be able to manipulate the election. I don't think that Trump messing around with mail ballots is going to help him win, because I believe the Constitution is stronger than that. And the wisdom of the crowd, not of individual senators, not individual congressmen, but the wisdom of the crowd, of the executive branch in some way, the legislative branch, the states, the judicial branch together will sustain the values that make America the great country that it is. So in conclusion, let me say this. If I ask 50 people to define politics, I mean to give me an identity politics definition, most couldn't do it. Rather than do the work, they'd rather go to a psychic or engage in tarot politics. They'd rather do that than really inquire of what they truly believe. Believe me, partisan politics is not the solution. Now is the time for a new politics in U.S. politics. Truly progressive politics is nothing more than comparative politics, looking at the core issues, studying the data and the facts, ignoring fake news, and as you prepare to vote, remember that what is important is, as the former presidential candidate and spiritual teacher Marianne Williamson has said many times, love, kindness, compassion, empathy, and wisdom. So that's the podcast for tonight. Thank you so much for listening in. Please subscribe to this channel, Ask Lewis Harrison. Become a fan at Ask Lewis on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook. My name's Lewis Harrison. And of course, join our mailing list of the Lou Crew over at AskLewis.com. And of course, share this in your social network. Thanks a lot. Have a great, great day. Stay safe. And thanks for listening in.